In the last few years, the Toronto Raptors have always been a defense-first type of team, and they rode that all the way to an NBA championship. And this has become even more evident with the draft pick of Scottie Barnes. So in this video, we're going to look at why the NBA is about to be shocked by the Toronto Raptors defense. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. It's a channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your Friday episode where we're talking about the Raptors defense for this upcoming season and why the NBA is not ready for it. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the NBA and the Raptors in videos and content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Show your support to the channel on a road to 6,000 subscribers. Would really mean a lot if you did subscribe and join the Amateur Army. If you want more content, you can check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/amateursports, where we go live every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And if you miss any streams, you can subscribe to the Amateur Hour Archive channel, where we post some highlights and clips from those streams. But let's get down to business for today. For today's video, we're talking about the Toronto Raptors defense, like I mentioned. And the Toronto Raptors have really been known for their defense over the past, I'd say, 5 or 6 years. The Raptors mentality has been to be this great defensive team, and that became even more evident when Nick Nurse took over as head coach. The Raptors acquired Kawhi Leonard, who was arguably the best defensive player in the league, but definitely one of the best defensive players in the league, and they rode that insanely good defense all the way up to an NBA championship where, they took on some formidable teams in the process of winning that NBA championship. People seriously discredit the Raptors beating that Philadelphia 76ers team, because that 76ers team was one of the greatest teams ever assembled. A big four of Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and a nice fifth-man shooter in JJ Redick to round it off. And the Raptors beat that team, albeit in 7 games off of one of the most famous shots of all time. But still, they beat that team, and then they beat the Milwaukee Bucks coming off of a fantastic season. I would say that Milwaukee Bucks team they beat in 2019 is better than the Milwaukee Bucks team that just won the NBA championship. They locked up Giannis. He probably still has nightmares about getting doubled by Kawhi Leonard and Marc Gasol, and they brought it to the NBA Finals as well. But they've maintained that sort of identity and image over the last few years as well. And a lot of these players who maybe came in as not the greatest defenders have really blossomed into some of the best defensive players in the league. Fred VanVleet has become one of the better, if not one of the best, point guard defenders in the league. He's almost at the top in sort of getting deflections. And deflections, maybe they aren't always getting steals, but it puts that thought in the offensive player's mind that, maybe he's not going to get that pass through, and just puts a seed of doubt in the player's mind. But with all of this defense, the Raptors, the schematics that they deploy is probably the biggest thing about their defense. Sure, there are talented players on defense, but it's also the development team and the coaches that help get them to this level of defense. And I think that one of the best things about the defense here is that for Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches in the league, coach of the year 2 seasons ago, the way he deploys defense is just so calculated. He calculates it almost over every possession, whereas some teams, maybe some coaches, they go into a game with almost one defensive plan. The Raptors can constantly switch and constantly rotate their defensive schematics. Now, last season wasn't a good indication for that because the Raptors didn't really have the center that they needed to deploy the defense that they usually deploy. Marc Gasol was a fantastic defender. Serge Ibaka as well was a great defender to have on the team. But the Raptors last season lacked that defensive big. Aaron Baines was just not up to scratch for the team. Neither was Alex Len, who got waived during the year. Aaron Baines got waived a couple weeks ago. And bringing in Khem Birch, it was a little bit too late because the Raptors were already in that tank mindset. But this summer, they've already added in more players to bolster that already fantastic defense with the draft pick of Scottie Barnes, a very long player, 6'8", with a 7'3", 7'4" wingspan, already displaying some great signs of being a good defender, but also mixed with that wingspan. And they've also added in Precious Achiuwa, a very young center who can play on the perimeter. I think that one of the biggest things about Precious Achiuwa's defense that I noticed, especially in Summer League, is that in the Charlotte game, where the Raptors were up by 1 point with just a few seconds left, the last shot, James Bouknight has the ball, an absolute scoring machine in college. They have Precious Achiuwa on the perimeter guarding this player. Precious Achiuwa, this is supposed to be your center. This is supposed to be your number 5, the guy who's in the paint, but he's on the outside defending the perimeter. So with all of these great tools mixed with having OG Anunoby, who's arguably, if I would say, the best on-ball defender in the NBA, Pascal Siakam is a formidable defender, and if it wasn't for having OG Anunoby on our team, we would talk about how good Pascal Siakam's defense is. so much more. Fred VanVleet, like I already mentioned, Scotty Barnes, like I mentioned, Precious Achiuwa, like I mentioned, these are fantastic defenders. Ken Burch isn't even that bad as well. He's another one who can go onto the perimeter and play defense as well. So having all of these guys together with this system, with this insane length, with these insane defensive instincts, the ability to read sets on defense, is going to make the Raptors defense scary, because I think that what works the best with this Raptors system is the rotations on defense and just the switchability on defense. The Raptors, when they won a championship, there was all this switching. Sometimes maybe it broke down when Serge Ibaka had to go to the perimeter, and you noticed that in the playoffs last season where they played the Celtics, they eventually lose in 7. Serge Ibaka wasn't really playing the late game situations because if you brought him out in a pick and roll, you brought him out to the perimeter, he'd get blown by a little bit easily. So the Raptors eliminated that. They found out last season that they cannot operate with a center who cannot go switch, who cannot guard the perimeter. They learned that with Aaron Baines. They learned that with Alex Len. So they decided to not only double down and triple down, but quadruple down on these athletic two-way guys, 6'8", 6'9", who can go defend any of the 5 positions if necessary. And adding in a player like Precious Achiuwa and bringing back Ken Burch is only going to solidify the mindset that we have created in these players, the ability to switch onto any position. Scotty Barnes is a self-proclaimed guy who can guard the 1 through 5, and judging from Summer League, I believe it. OG Anunoby has showcased in the NBA he can guard the 1 through 5. Literally play as a center against somebody like Nikola Jokic, the MVP of the NBA. So with these Nick Nurse schematics where he can just be set on this switchability, on this rotation, it is going to be an absolute nightmare for other teams to come and play again. And when you have this sort of image of your team as this great defensive team, and many coaches, many players have alluded to how good the Toronto Raptors defense is. Jason Tatum has been quoted as saying, when he was asked about the toughest player to play against, he couldn't give a specific answer about a player. He just said, in general, playing against the Toronto Raptors is insanely difficult because of the defensive schematics that they lay against you. This is something that the Raptors have consistently built their identity on since Nick Nurse took over as the head coach, rode that to an NBA championship, like I said. But having the ability to have all of your players switching, all of your players buying into the same defensive system, and having just the mindset and the peace of mind to understand that every player on your team can fit into this defensive system that you can deploy, it just leaves you with this, next man up mentality on defense, which is going to make this defense insanely scary. Always being able to rotate, always being an extra pass ahead of the offense, knowing where you have to be in your rotation just in case the ball goes there, and also having the mental capacity as good defenders to be reactionary as well. What they need to do, which they didn't do as much last season, is be proactive to the way the offense is rolling, the opposition's offense is rolling. But there also needs to be that element of reaction to what they see if things change. And I think that a lot of the players on this team, like OG, Pascal, and Fred, have that ability to react to different things, and that makes them fantastic defenders. I think that as we progress through the season, we could see OG Anunoby, if he stays healthy, as somebody who's going to be on an all-defense team and possibly near the top of a DPOY conversation. Don't think he's ready to win it yet, but maybe in a top 5 possibly. Fred VanVleet, I think we can see him on an all-defense second team. There's a lot to like about the Raptors defense. Where the trouble is going to come from, and maybe later we're going to get into a video about where the trouble is going to come from. That's going to come from the offensive end, because sure, we're going to limit teams. Raptors pride themselves on keeping teams under 100 points. That pride was completely lost last season in the tank year, where ultimately got our guy Scotty Barnes because of the tank. However, we didn't really get to see that, but the identity still remains. That mentality still remains within a lot of these guys in the team who have rings on their fingers. They understand what it takes to win. They understand what it takes to achieve the highest possible level of basketball. And they did it with that insane level of defense. So they know what needs to be done there. Offensively is where we may struggle. Do we have the outside shooters necessary to space the floor? Do we have that closer? Do we have that big game situation player? Do we have the player who can stick the ball in his hand in, maybe we're in a little bit of a slump, maybe a little bit of a cold stretch? That's what I felt like we lacked the most last season. So that's where our weakness is going to be. But if our identity is the defensive aspect of the game, the Raptors have done a phenomenal job in building a team that doubles down, triples down, quadruples down, whatever, on that specific mindset. And they are going to build the foundation for the future of this franchise with this very young core with that identity in place. And when you have your identity solidified completely, that the Raptors are going to have, it leads to potential for explosion of talent over the years. You solidify defense, because defense is one of the most difficult things to learn. You get the defense, and then you work on developing that offensive side of the game, the team basketball, and maybe develop somebody into a bit of a shot creator for themselves. Can Gary Trent take the next level as a shot creator? I think that he may be the guy that needs to be the closer for this season. So with all these things in mind, I think that even though maybe we've lacked a little bit of development on offense in the offseason, the defense has been solidified, and we want to get back to being one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Will that be enough to get us a good playoff position? I'm not so sure. That remains to be seen. But again, this is going to be a transition year where we build for the future, and the Raptors have done a phenomenal job in setting the foundation. So what do you guys make of the Raptors offseason? What do you make of our defense for next season? I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are still, be sure to hit that like button, smash that like button for the Raptors' great summer league performances, and if you're excited for the season. Really goes a long way to helping us reach some new viewers for the channel with that YouTube algorithm, and also showcase to me that you made it to the end of the video. You can also check out the twitch.tv/amateursports, where we go live every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. We do videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, so that's 7 days a week of amateur sports content. And if you're unable to catch a stream for whatever reason, you just want to see something, go to the highlight channel, the clips channel, amateur archive. Links are in the description for everything. You can also subscribe to the channel on a road to 6,000 subscribers. You can help us get there by subscribing. Amateur Sports was the creator on the rise of the day on the Explore page. Fantastic for the channel. If you liked the video, make sure you stick around for more in the future. There's some others that you might like over here. And always remember, at the end of the day, believe what I say. And if you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.